Life will keep hurting you until you accept this. One Stoic truth. Stoicism motivation. There comes a moment in almost everyone's life when they quietly ask themselves a painful question. Why does this keep happening to me? Maybe it's another broken relationship, another rejection, another betrayal, another opportunity that slipped away, another plan that fell apart just when everything seemed to be coming together. At first, we believe these moments are accidents, bad luck, unfortunate timing. But after enough disappointments, a deeper fear begins to grow. What if life is against me? The Stoics would answer that question with remarkable honesty. Life isn't against you. Life is trying to teach you. The suffering continues not because the world wants to punish you, but because you keep resisting a truth that has always been there. Imagine a river flowing toward the sea. If you move with the current, the journey is difficult, but natural. But if you insist on swimming against it, every movement becomes exhausting. The river isn't your enemy. Your resistance is. For over 2,000 years, Stoic philosophers understood something that many people spend their entire lives avoiding. The greatest source of suffering isn't pain itself. It's our refusal to accept reality. Marcus Aurelius ruled the Roman Empire during one of its most difficult periods. He witnessed devastating wars, plagues that claimed countless lives, political conspiracies, personal loss. He had every reason to become bitter. Yet instead of asking, "Why is this happening to me?" he asked, "What is this asking of me?" That single shift changed everything. Most people believe peace arrives when life finally becomes easy. The Stoics knew peace arrives when we stop demanding that life be easy. Today's lesson revolves around one Stoic truth, a truth so simple that many people overlook it, yet powerful enough to transform the way you experience every setback, every disappointment, and every challenge. Accept this truth, and life begins to feel lighter. Reject it, and suffering repeats itself in different forms. Let's begin. The one Stoic. Truth reality does not owe you. Your expectations. This may sound harsh, but it is also deeply liberating. From childhood, many of us quietly create a script for how life is supposed to unfold. We're supposed to succeed if we work hard. People are supposed to treat us fairly. Loved ones are supposed to stay forever. Plans are supposed to work out. Good people are supposed to avoid suffering. Then reality interrupts the story. Someone you trusted lies to you. A relationship ends unexpectedly. You lose a job despite doing everything right. You experience illness despite living carefully. Suddenly, the gap between expectation and reality creates pain. Notice something important. The event itself hurts, but the expectation often hurts even more. You don't simply lose the relationship. You suffer because you believed it wasn't supposed to end. You don't simply experience failure. You suffer because you believe failure shouldn't happen to you. Epictetus taught that we are disturbed not by events, but by our judgments about them. Think carefully about those words. Two people lose the same opportunity. One says, "My life is ruined." The other says, "This wasn't the path meant for me. I'll find another." Same event, different interpretation, different emotional outcome. Reality never promised perfection. We imagined it, and then blame life for failing to meet our imagination. The happiest people don't demand that reality match their expectations. They adjust their expectations to match reality. That isn't giving up. It's waking up. Why resistance creates more pain? Imagine holding a rope during a game of tug-of-war. On the other end is reality. The harder reality pulls, the tighter you grip. You refuse to let go. Eventually your hands bleed. You're exhausted, frustrated, angry. Now imagine simply releasing the rope. The struggle ends immediately. Reality doesn't disappear, but the unnecessary suffering does. This is what acceptance means. It does not mean approval. It does not mean surrendering your dreams. It means acknowledging what already exists before deciding what to do next. Many people confuse acceptance with weakness. The Stoics saw it as strength. Imagine standing in the rain. You can spend an hour complaining that it shouldn't be raining, or you can open an umbrella. Complaining changes nothing. Acceptance allows action. How much emotional energy have you spent wishing the past were different, wishing someone had treated you better, wishing you had made another decision, wishing life had unfolded according to your plan? None of that changes reality, but it does prolong suffering. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself repeatedly, the obstacle is the way, the very thing you're resisting, maybe the thing preparing you for who you're becoming. The breakup teaches independence. The failure teaches resilience. The rejection teaches humility. The hardship teaches patience. Pain often carries a lesson. Resistance prevents us from learning it. Life is not punishing. One of the biggest misconceptions people carry is that difficult experiences are signs that life is unfair. But think about nature. A tree doesn't complain because winter arrives. It doesn't question why storms exist. It simply grows stronger roots. The Stoics believed human beings should approach hardship with the same wisdom. Challenges aren't interruptions to life. They are life. Imagine trying to build physical strength without lifting anything heavy. Impossible. The resistance creates the growth. Your character works exactly the same way. Courage cannot exist without fear. Patience cannot exist without delay. Forgiveness cannot exist without being hurt. Resilience cannot exist without adversity. Every virtue requires difficulty. Without challenges, your greatest qualities remain undeveloped. The very experiences you wish had never happened may become the moments you later thank life for. Many successful people eventually admit something surprising. The event they once believed ruined their life became the event that transformed it. Not because suffering is enjoyable, but because it revealed strengths they never knew they possessed. Stoicism doesn't ask you to love pain. It asks you to learn from it. Every challenge silently asks the same question. Will this make you bitter or better? That choice belongs entirely to you. Most people spend years trying to change the world before changing their perspective. The Stoics reversed the order. They transformed the mind first. Then the world began to feel different. We've only begun uncovering this powerful truth. Life will keep hurting you until you accept this one Stoic truth. Stoicism motivation. If you've made it this far, you've already uncovered one of the greatest lessons Stoicism has to offer. Life doesn't become painful simply because difficult things happen. It becomes painful because we keep demanding that reality be different from what it is. The moment you stop arguing with reality, you stop wasting energy on battles you were never meant to win. This doesn't mean life suddenly becomes easy. It means you become stronger. Let's go deeper. Lesson 2. Stop trying to control everything. Imagine trying to hold water in your hands. The tighter you squeeze, the faster it slips through your fingers. Control works the same way. The more desperately you try to control every outcome, every person, and every situation, the more anxious you become. Think about how much of your day is spent worrying about things beyond your reach. Will people appreciate your work? Will your children always make the right decisions? Will the economy improve? Will someone text you back? Will tomorrow go according to plan? Most of these questions have something in common. You cannot fully answer them, yet many people spend years carrying the emotional weight of problems they have no power to solve. Epictetus divided life into 2 simple categories: things that are within your control and things that are not. Within your control are your thoughts, your choices, your effort, your honesty, your discipline. Outside your control are other people's opinions, the past, the weather, unexpected events, and the final outcome of many situations. The happiest people don't waste emotional energy trying to control the uncontrollable. Instead, they become masters of the only thing they truly own, their character. Imagine an archer aiming at a target. The archer can train every day, choose the best bow, practice proper technique, take careful aim. But once the arrow leaves the string, the wind may change, the target may move, something unexpected may happen. The Stoics would say, your responsibility ends the moment you've given your best effort. Everything after that belongs to life. How much lighter would your days feel if you truly accepted this? How many sleepless nights would disappear? How many unnecessary worries would fade away? Peace begins when control ends. Lesson 3: Pain is a teacher, not an enemy. Think back to one of the hardest moments in your life. At the time, it probably felt unbearable. Maybe you lost someone you loved. Maybe you failed. Maybe you were rejected. Maybe your plans completely collapsed. If someone had told you then, one day you'll be grateful for this experience, you probably wouldn't have believed them. Yet many people eventually discover exactly that. Not because they enjoyed the pain, but because the pain changed them. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "What stands in the way becomes the way." This is perhaps the most famous Stoic principle of all. The obstacle is not blocking your path. The obstacle is your path. Imagine a sculptor looking at a massive block of marble. Most people see a heavy stone. The sculptor sees a masterpiece waiting to be revealed. The hammer doesn't destroy the marble. It reveals what was hidden inside. Life's hardships often work the same way. Pressure reveals patience. Failure reveals humility. Loss reveals gratitude. Criticism reveals emotional maturity. Without difficulty, these qualities remain asleep within us. Think about people you admire. The strongest, the wisest, the kindest. Did they become that way because everything went perfectly, or because life forced them to grow? Every scar carries a lesson. Every setback contains wisdom. Every disappointment asks you to become someone new. Pain becomes unbearable only when it feels meaningless. Stoicism gives pain meaning, not by pretending it feels good, but by showing that suffering can shape extraordinary character. Instead of asking, "Why is this happening to me?" try asking, "What is this experience trying to teach me?" That one question transforms victimhood into growth. Lesson 4: Stop expecting fairness. One of the greatest emotional traps is believing life should always reward good people and punish bad ones. Unfortunately, reality doesn't work that way. Good people lose jobs. Honest people are betrayed. Kind people experience heartbreak. Hardworking people sometimes fail. Meanwhile, dishonest people occasionally succeed, at least for a while. This feels unfair, because it is. The Stoics never denied that life contains injustice. They simply refused to let injustice steal their peace. Marcus Aurelius understood that fairness is something we should practice, not something we should expect from the universe. Think of the seasons. Winter doesn't avoid good people. Rain doesn't fall only on those who deserve it. Nature treats everyone according to its own laws. Life often does the same. Imagine planting 2 gardens. One grows quickly. The other takes much longer. Would you dig up the second garden every day, demanding immediate results? Of course not. You'd keep watering it, because growth follows its own timetable. Your efforts work the same way. Sometimes your kindness won't be appreciated immediately. Sometimes your discipline won't produce instant rewards. Sometimes your honesty may even cost you opportunities. Does that mean you should abandon your values? The Stoics answered with an unwavering no. Why? Because your character is more valuable than temporary success. Anyone can remain honest when honesty is easy. Anyone can stay kind when kindness is rewarded. The true test comes when doing the right thing costs something. That is where character is forged. Life isn't asking whether everything is fair. It's asking whether you'll remain faithful to your principles anyway. A powerful story. Imagine two blacksmiths standing before the same blazing fire. The first places iron into the flames. The second places wax into the same fire. The wax melts. The iron becomes stronger. The fire didn't choose what happened. The material determined the outcome. Life's challenges are the fire. Your mindset determines whether you melt or become stronger. The Stoics never tried to extinguish life's fire. They focused on becoming iron, and that made all the difference. You've now discovered that trying to control everything creates anxiety. That pain often arrives as a teacher, and that expecting life to be perfectly fair guarantees disappointment. But the most transformative lesson is still ahead. The Stoics never tried to escape pain. They tried to understand it, because once you understand something, it loses much of its power over you. Most people spend their lives asking, how do I avoid suffering? The Stoics asked a different question. How do I become the kind of person who cannot be broken by suffering? That difference changes everything. Let's continue. Lesson 5. Attachment is often the hidden source of suffering. Imagine holding a handful of sand. If you hold it gently, most of it remains in your hand. But the tighter you squeeze, the faster it slips through your fingers. Life works the same way. The more desperately we cling to people, possessions, expectations, and outcomes, the more fear we create. Fear of losing them, fear of change, fear of disappointment. The Stoics didn't teach us not to love. They taught us not to possess. There's a profound difference. Love appreciates. Attachment demands. Love says, I'm grateful you're in my life. Attachment says, I cannot be happy without you. One brings peace. The other creates constant anxiety. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself that everything in life is temporary, not to become cold or indifferent, but to become deeply grateful. Think about a beautiful sunset. You don't try to stop it from ending. You simply enjoy it while it lasts. Relationships are similar. Friendships, success, youth, health, even life itself. Everything is borrowed. Nothing is permanently ours. This truth may sound uncomfortable, but it is also incredibly freeing. Because once you stop expecting permanence from temporary things, you begin appreciating them more. Instead of fearing loss every day, you become grateful for today. Imagine spending time with someone you love while remembering that no moment is guaranteed. You'd listen more carefully, laugh more freely, forgive more quickly, put your phone away more often. You wouldn't waste precious time on petty arguments. Impermanence teaches appreciation, and appreciation is one of the foundations of happiness. Lesson 6. You cannot change the past. There is one place where countless people continue to live, not in the present, not in the future, but in yesterday. They replay conversations, relive mistakes, imagine different endings, carry guilt for years, ask themselves endless questions. What if I had said something different? What if I had made another decision? What if I had started sooner, no matter how many times the mind revisits the past? The past never changes. Imagine driving a car while staring only into the rearview mirror. How far would you get before crashing? Yet many people try to live exactly this way. They move through today's opportunities while mentally trapped in yesterday's disappointments. The Stoics understood that regret has only one useful purpose: to teach. Once the lesson has been learned, the regret has completed its job. Everything beyond that becomes unnecessary suffering. Seneca believed that wise people learn from yesterday, but refuse to live there. Think about a sculptor carving stone. If one strike lands imperfectly, the sculptor doesn't spend the rest of the day staring at that mistake. He adjusts, learns, keeps carving. Life asks the same of us. Every mistake carries wisdom. Every failure offers instruction, but only if you're willing to move forward. Ask yourself honestly, how much of your suffering today comes from events that no longer exist? The conversation ended years ago. The opportunity passed long ago. The relationship is over. The mistake has already happened. Only the memory remains, and memories lose their power when we stop feeding them. The present moment is the only place where change is possible. The Stoics knew this. That's why they kept returning to the present, again and again. Lesson 7. Other people's opinions are not your identity. 1 harsh comment. 1 unfair criticism. 1 rejection. For many people, that's enough to question their entire worth. Why? Because they've unknowingly handed strangers the power to define them. The Stoics refused to do this. Epictetus once asked, "If someone insults your body, do you become your body?" Of course not. And then why become every opinion someone has about you? Think about a mirror. A dirty mirror reflects a distorted image. The distortion isn't your fault. It's the mirror. People's opinions work the same way. Everyone sees the world through their own experiences, their fears, their insecurities, their beliefs. Some will misunderstand you. Some will admire you. Some will criticize you. Some will envy you. None of these opinions change who you truly are. Imagine standing beneath the sun. One person complains it's too hot. Another says it's beautiful. The sun continues shining. It doesn't change because of people's opinions. Neither should you. This doesn't mean ignoring constructive feedback. Wise people listen. They learn. They improve. But they don't confuse criticism with identity. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself that his responsibility was to live according to virtue, not according to applause. Think about how exhausting it is to constantly seek approval, trying to please everyone, avoiding conflict, changing yourself to fit every room you enter. It's impossible. No matter how kind you are, someone will misunderstand you. No matter how honest you are, someone will question your motives. No matter how successful you become, someone will believe you don't deserve it. If your happiness depends on universal approval, you'll spend your entire life disappointed. The Stoics chose a different path. Instead of asking, "Do people approve of me?" they asked, "Did I act according to my values today?" That's a question you can answer, and that's where peace begins. A story about the oak tree. Imagine an old oak tree standing in the middle of an open field. Every season brings something different. Spring brings new leaves. Summer brings intense heat. Autumn strips away its branches. Winter covers it with snow. The tree never argues with the seasons. It doesn't demand endless sunshine. It doesn't complain when storms arrive. It simply adapts. Its strength comes from accepting change, not resisting it. People who fight every season of life become exhausted. People who learn to flow with life's seasons become resilient. You are not meant to stay the same forever. Some seasons are for growth. Others are for healing. Some are for letting go. Others are for beginning again. Wisdom is knowing which season you're in and accepting it fully. By now, you've uncovered one of Stoicism's deepest truths. Much of our suffering comes not from what happens to us, but from what we refuse to accept. We resist change. We cling to the past. We seek approval. We fear losing what was never ours to keep forever. But there is one final lesson that ties everything together. The greatest battles are rarely fought in the outside world. They're fought within our own minds. The Stoics understood that while we cannot control every event that happens to us, we always have the power to choose the meaning we give those events. And that changes everything. Let's bring this journey to its conclusion. The final lesson: acceptance is not giving up. It's taking back your power. When most people hear the word acceptance, they imagine surrender. They imagine weakness. They imagine giving up on their dreams. But the Stoics meant something completely different. Acceptance is not saying, "I like what happened." Acceptance is saying, this is what happened. Now, what is the wisest thing I can do next? That simple shift changes you from a victim into a creator. Imagine a sailor caught in a violent storm. He can stand on the deck screaming at the wind. He can curse the waves. He can demand that the ocean become calm. None of those things will save the ship. The only thing that matters is this. Can he adjust the sails? The storm is beyond his control. His response is not. Life works exactly the same way. You cannot control every challenge. You cannot prevent every disappointment. You cannot stop people from leaving. You cannot erase mistakes you've already made. But you can always choose your next step. And your next step is where your power lives. Marcus Aurelius never wasted energy wishing reality were different. Instead, he asked himself, what does this moment require of me? Sometimes it required courage. Sometimes patience. Sometimes forgiveness. Sometimes discipline. Whatever life placed before him, he treated it as an opportunity to practice virtue. That is the Stoic mindset. Not escaping life, meeting it with strength. Why? This truth sets you free. For years, you may have believed that peace would arrive when life finally became predictable, when people stopped disappointing you, when success came easily, when everything finally went according to plan. But what if peace has been available all along? What if the only thing standing in the way was your refusal to accept that life is uncertain? Think about a bird flying through the sky. It doesn't fear the branch breaking beneath it. Why? Because its confidence isn't in the branch. It's in its wings. The Stoics wanted you to become like that bird. Don't place your peace in circumstances that can change overnight. Place it in your character. Money can disappear. Health can change. Relationships can end. Careers can shift. But wisdom, courage, integrity, self-control. These are treasures no one can take from you unless you willingly give them away. This is why the Stoics invested so much effort in developing their inner world. Because they knew that external security is never guaranteed. Inner strength can be. When your peace depends on your character instead of your circumstances, you become remarkably difficult to break. A story you'll never forget. Imagine a master potter shaping clay on a spinning wheel. The clay doesn't choose the pressure. It doesn't choose the hands that mold it. It doesn't choose the heat of the kiln. Yet without pressure, without shaping, without fire, it never becomes a beautiful vessel. Human beings are remarkably similar. Most of us pray for strength, but hope to avoid difficulty. We ask for wisdom, but resist the lessons that produce it. We desire courage, but wish fear would never appear. Life doesn't work that way. The fire is part of the process. The pressure is part of the process. The uncertainty is part of the process. The Stoics didn't become wise despite hardship. They became wise because of it. One day you'll look back at a chapter of your life that once brought you to tears, and you'll realize something astonishing. That chapter wasn't the end of your story. It was the beginning of the person you were becoming. The pain that once felt unbearable became the reason you grew stronger. The rejection became redirection. The failure became wisdom. The loss became gratitude. The obstacle became the way. The question that changes everything. Most people ask life one question over and over. Why is this happening to me? It's an understandable question, but it rarely leads to peace. The Stoics replaced it with another question. What is this trying to teach me? Notice how different those questions feel. The first keeps you trapped in self-pity. The second invites growth. Imagine losing a job. One person spends months asking, why me? Another asks, what skills can I develop because of this? Imagine heartbreak. One person believes they'll never recover. The other asks, what did this relationship teach me about love, boundaries, and myself? Same event. Different question. Different future. The quality of your life is often determined by the quality of the questions you ask yourself. Ask empowering questions. Receive empowering answers, bringing it all together. Let's remember the one Stoic truth that has guided this entire journey. Life doesn't keep hurting you because it's against you. Life keeps presenting lessons until you stop resisting them and begin learning from them. You learned that reality does not owe you your expectations. You discovered that trying to control everything creates unnecessary anxiety. You saw that pain can become your greatest teacher. You realized that life isn't always fair, but your character can remain honorable regardless. You understood that attachment often creates suffering. You learned to let go of the past because it no longer exists. You stopped allowing other people's opinions to define your identity. And finally, you discovered that acceptance isn't surrender, it's freedom. These aren't just philosophical ideas. They're practical tools for everyday life. The next time someone disappoints you, pause. The next time life doesn't go according to plan, pause. The next time fear whispers that everything is falling apart, pause. Ask yourself, what is within my control? What can I learn from this? What would a Stoic do in this moment? Those 3 questions alone can change the direction of your life. Final thoughts. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." Those words have survived for nearly 2,000 years because they're just as true today as they were then. Every obstacle you face carries 2 possibilities. It can become the excuse that limits your life or the experience that transforms it. The choice belongs to you. Remember, life will never stop changing. People will come and go. Plans will succeed and fail. You'll experience joy. You'll experience loss. You'll celebrate. You'll grieve. That is the human experience. But through it all, one thing can remain steady: the person you choose to become. When you stop asking life to be easier and start asking yourself to become wiser, everything changes. Not because the world suddenly becomes kind, but because your mind becomes stronger than your circumstances. And that is the beginning of real freedom. Powerful outro. If this video spoke to you, don't let it end here. Choose one challenge you're facing right now. Instead of asking, why is this happening to me? Ask, what is this trying to teach me? Sit with that question today. It may reveal more than you've been able to see for months or even years. If you found value in this video, subscribe for more. Timeless Stoic wisdom, practical philosophy, and powerful lessons to help you build resilience, discipline, and lasting inner peace. And before you go, leave a comment below. What is the hardest lesson life has ever taught you? And what did you learn from it? Your story could inspire someone who's walking through a difficult season right now. Until next time, don't fear the storm. Become the person who can sail through it. Stay calm. Stay disciplined. And remember, the strongest people aren't those who've avoided pain. They're the ones who allowed pain to become wisdom.